So today it's my pleasure to introduce you to our guest, Kelsey Moreira. Serving up nostalgia with every scoop and curating Doughp moments of self-love, Doughp, the legit cookie dough company, burst onto the dessert scene in 2017 in San Francisco. After a journey in self-discovery and sobriety, founder Kelsey renewed her love for baking and inadvertently created an amazing edible cookie dough recipe from scratch that can be enjoyed either raw or baked. Kelsey took Doughp on ABC's hit show Shark Tank, and she was named in Forbes 30 Under 30 for how quickly she's grown her business and her mission-driven mentality behind it. She is using her newfound success to reduce social stigmas around addiction and mental health, continuing to share her story in hopes of inspiring others to do the same. Not only is Doughp sweet on the inside, but it's sweet on the outside, but also sweet on the inside. And its long-standing mission to bring attention and awareness to mental health and addiction recovery with raw truth. Doughp for Hope is their national campaign, giving back to the community by prioritizing mental health for employees and their community, and donating a portion of every purchase to nonprofits like She Recovers. So welcome, Kelsey. So today, just so everybody that's watching knows, we're going to do a little bit different of a format. We're just going to do a Q&A right from the beginning. So Kelsey won't necessarily be giving a talk, but she'll be answering all of my questions and all of your questions. So please feel free to drop any questions you have for her in the chat or in the Q&A function or in the comments on Facebook while we're chatting. So welcome, Kelsey. How are you?
Nice. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Sweet intro. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take credit for writing it. It's about you and your business, but
That's
yes,
all right. Thank you.
Glad to have you here today. So first question really quickly, you were just at She Recovers in Miami with us.
Yes.
So what was your favorite thing there and how did you enjoy the conference?
Yeah. Wow. The conference was so cool. I mean, it's like one thing to see kind of how the community is online and already from the bat and why we chose to partner with She Recovers. It was so supportive and like so much engagement online, but to see it in person was really special. Like the energy and openness and like vulnerability of everyone left to right, you know, from speakers to attendees. It was just really, really cool to see. I think the highlight was how amazing it was that the conference was so fun. The speakers like Nadia, like she was at the silent disco, like getting down, you know, and she hung out for hours at the lunch area and we got to chat with her for a little bit. So it was just, yeah, really cool how it just brought everyone's guards down and was like, we're all people, like we're all going through it. And that was my first time going through trauma-informed yoga with Taryn leading one of those mornings. Just a totally eye-opening experience for me. It was awesome. I was like, why am I crying? What's happening? It was like amazing. Yeah, it's therapeutic.
A lot of people feel that way when they do Taryn's yoga for the first time.
What's happening?
So you're not alone. That's amazing. I'm so glad you enjoyed it and it was as transformational for you as it was for me and for so many others. And I agree, Nadia Boltz-Weber was one of the speakers and she spoke on Friday night and she was just literally attending the conference like one of us, sitting with us at lunch that one day and dancing at the silent disco. She also did Taryn's yoga. I peeped her in the corner when I was there that early morning. I was like, oh my gosh, she's just hanging out doing yoga.
She has like some limits though, because she was super smart. Like Shavasana was just over and she had just rolled up her thing and got out right before everyone was able to get up and kind of hound her. So she was strategic, but she did get to really enjoy it still.
And she's so tall in comparison to you, especially, not to call you out or anything.
No, totally.
Easy to spot in a crowd.
It's so funny coming from the online world for these last few years where like so many people we've just met and worked with online and like, look, we're the same height right now, talking, looking at each other's heads, but you meet someone in person and it's like, whoa. And so with her, same thing of like, she'd just been on the stage. And then when we sat with her at lunch that day and she stood up, it's like, I'm 5'2". I mean, she's got to be over 6, 6'2", maybe. She's really tall and she was wearing heels that day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Just a whole thing. Yeah.
Awesome, I actually think that's one of the things I said about the conference in general is like what was so surprising is seeing these connections in real life that I have made through the Zoom gatherings and other places like Mental Health Monday. And you'd never know how tall someone is. It's not like something that you talk about or ask or like even notice because we're not standing up ever on Zoom. And then you just notice like the height difference of people. So that's so funny.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
good.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you got sober. I know you've talked about this a little bit before, so you don't have to spend too much time on it unless
Sure.
you want to, of course. And then how you started Doughp.
Sure. Yeah. Brief summary. So for me, I started to drink when I was 14, and the first time I drank till I blacked out. And I think even from the beginning, I had had a lot of like troubles in my childhood with perfectionism and anxiety, and it started to fuel into just this like intense need to be perfect all the time. And so alcohol was like, oh, like I could just release, I didn't need to be perfect. I could just pretend to be one of the cool kids and like try to blend in school. And let go. And so I really developed this unhealthy relationship over the next 10 years from that point till I was 24, leaning on alcohol to deal with my stress. And I started at Intel when I was 16. So just a couple of years after finding alcohol, I was like propelled into this opportunity to let my perfectionism issues like go to the new heights, and that pressure on myself, not only to get, straight A's in school, but now it was like, how am I doing in this corporate environment? Which is by itself, even if you're not in school, like an extremely stressful environment to be in. So doing that part-time through the school years, full-time every summer, it was just a lot for me. And I was constantly a problem drinker. I had this way where I just wanted to be like the life of the party and I never wanted it to end. And I was constantly having to apologize for stuff I barely remembered doing. So it kind of all came to a head. I had tried to get sober at 21 and had a goal of like, well, I'm just going to do, 4 months and I'll reset and then I'll be able to drink again. And like, many maybe who are listening have experienced, it's like, we had these high hopes that we could try and make alcohol fit in our life or, insert substance here. But, it just doesn't work. At the end of the day, I had to face that I am an alcoholic, like many in my family. It's definitely, we've got it running through the genes in my family. So unfortunately, it bit me, and I wasn't able to get it under control. After that 4-month stint, I was back to troublesome drinking and issues coming out, getting hospitalized, tickets with the police, like lying about fake ID, false reporting to law enforcement, and none of that aligned with like who Kelsey was, with the grades and with what I was loving doing at Intel. And I just felt like I was living these double lives. So when I had my sort of final moment, I was on a business trip in Barcelona and came to it like 3 a.m. and didn't barely remember anything that had happened except that I had cheated on my then boyfriend, was blowing up basically a relationship of 4 years, and just saw such clarity that morning that I never wanted to feel that way again. And I was tired of not being the best version of Kelsey. So got sober. That was September 14th, 2015. So I'll be 7 years sober this September. And and it's just been the absolute coolest freaking thing of my life. When I stopped drinking, I got this whole world open to say, like, who is Kelsey and what does she love to do? And like, what are my passions and hobbies? I remember literally thinking like, I have no hobbies. Like all I do is go to breweries and go to bars. And that's how I knew to entertain when friends came in town to visit or take anybody out, to hang out, was just alcohol. And so one of my loves as a kid was baking. And so I got back in the kitchen baking like nights and weekends from my job at Intel. And slowly but surely, just decided that that was really what I loved doing. I felt so alive, like making a dessert for someone and seeing them light up when they tried it. So stumbled into a recipe to make cookie dough safe to eat because I was baking as a part-time vegan. I was using butter, but no eggs. So my cookie recipe was safe to enjoy. And I was like, this could be my thing. And like, what if I could make my whole life desserts? And, I'd always moved a bit quick for Intel's pace. So I was like, maybe I should be an entrepreneur. And had really only seen entrepreneur examples on Shark Tank prior to that. So I'm like, I don't know, let's figure it out. And, thank God for sobriety, because it gave me all this like extra energy, and I wasn't hungover on the weekend. I was up at like 5 a.m. going for a run, and like, what do we do with all this time? So I put it to work and started a business, and here I am 5 years from starting the company.
That's amazing. I love that story. And I also have to say, I just feel like I have so similarities to your personal story about quitting alcohol. I also drank for the last time in a foreign country. I was in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, but at the time I was living in Cancun, so same thing. And I also had issues with my boyfriend at the time. And I just had this same epiphany, like, what am I doing? Like, I don't even know who I am, but I'm constantly apologizing for the way that I act when I'm drinking and not remembering things. And it just filled me up with shame and guilt all the time. And I just was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. So I think that's awesome that we have that similarity. And I love hearing that you basically achieved your dream. You had this little thought and this dream in your head, and you're like, I have all this time now. What should I do with it? And you did it. I mean, that's amazing. And so many people think about it, but don't actually take the steps to do it. So congratulations. And that's amazing.
Yeah. My advice is like to do it before you can get scared about doing it. You know, I had the idea in February, and then I started the company in April of 2017, you know, so it was like, we're talking, you know, 3-month quick turnaround of idea to like, just go and just try it. Cause like, I felt like the bigger risk was wondering forever, like, what if I had started it? Like, what if I tried it? And, I'm glad I did. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of us can get scared just thinking about all the what ifs or overthinking or trying to do it perfectly. And all those things. So I think that's great advice for sure. Awesome. So here at She Recovers, one of our intentions and guiding principles, which we've all heard many times, I'm sure, is we are all recovering from something. And I know you had mentioned already perfectionism as well as anxiety. And I know you've talked about overworking. Can you just talk a little bit about what this intention and guiding principle means to you personally, and what these other mental health struggles have been like for you?
Yeah. You know, it's actually been a really cool experience over even the last 2 years of my recovery journey to dig a little bit deeper and like into these layers of the why, you know, why was I drinking? Cause it's just a symptom of what was really not working out in my mental health, and kind of this like, crutch I was using to deal with it because I didn't have good coping skills. When I took alcohol out of the picture, you don't just like immediately solve all of your childhood traumas. Unfortunately, I wish it was that easy. You could just be like, hey, look, I don't drink anymore. I'm fine. Right. But yeah, you still have to do the work to kind of find what it was that was really not aligning for you in your life, and how you can keep yourself a little more steady ongoing. So for me, I've found over the last year, started working with a therapist who does parts of memory therapy. And I found it really, really helpful to try and dig back into certain earlier memories of mine that have led to these certain feelings that I have and sort of perceptions you have of the world. Was recently, I won't use the term maybe diagnosed, but told by her that she thinks I might have obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, which is shedding light on a lot of issues I've got with like, you know, letting go of things, like letting go and knowing that it'll be all right versus like, I must do it all myself. And yeah, so I've felt like ongoing, it's a really beautiful thing through life to just continue to check in, and recovery gives you that opportunity to be present. And like, you get a fighting chance to say, how am I really doing? You know, what do I need to work on? What are my weak areas, you know, that I could opportunities that I have to better myself. And I'm just continually doing that. I think day-to-day mental health balance as an entrepreneur. And many can relate to this, you know, everybody's got a lot of plates that they're juggling. And as an entrepreneur, it's the same thing. I've got a lot of hats I wear. The days are long. It gets wild, but I have started to look at it like a bit of a roller coaster, you know? So being able to know that when you're in the really intense periods, like a low period will come when everything's all right and there's nothing on fire and like, we're okay. And it's reminding yourself to like, take the time when it's low, you know, take that afternoon off when you can stop at 1 and go see a movie or get your nails done, or, you know, take that Friday off if you can. Cause like a time will come when it's going to be full on and I've got to be fully in it and keep pushing through. So I've started, again, these last 2 years have been really intentional for me on trying to check in with myself, and make time for my mental health. It's important to like walk the walk, as we'll talk about. I talk about it through Doughp all the time. And it's like, yeah, but how am I doing? You know, so taking care of myself has been a big focus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think it's great when entrepreneurs especially are just transparent about that they also struggle. I think some people can be like, oh my gosh, you're an entrepreneur, like that's so amazing, and it is. Yes. But they are also just humans like everybody, and also struggle with these things like sobriety, anxiety, perfectionism, etc. And also have tools to know how to balance it all. So tell us about Doughp for Hope. Why did you create it, and how did you bring this mission to life?
Yeah, so Doughp for Hope. This was 2017. We were going to be getting our first I can't even really call it a storefront because it was a kiosk in a little marketplace, you know, those shared marketplaces, but it was like 10 by 10 and it was going to be ours. And I was so excited to finally have a physical spot. We'd been loading up for events out of my apartment until then. So this was a big step to get a real place. And the grand opening for it was on my 2-year sobriety anniversary. So when we had that grand opening and I had a Facebook event, I put up, if you say it's dope to be sober at checkout, you'll get 20% off to celebrate the founder's sober birthday. And the responses we started getting in DMs were just out of control. And I say we, it was like just me running social back then. But, you know, seeing all these messages come through of people saying they were a few weeks sober and like asking if I knew of any good meetings in the city. We were in San Francisco at the time. People that were many, many years sober saying they'd never shared it publicly and that it was cool to see me sharing that. And I just had such a light bulb moment, kind of like when I started the business. It was another moment of just like, whoa, like, this is such an opportunity to have a platform and tell people that they're not alone in what they're going through and kind of like wave this little flag. This is like, me too, you know, like you're not the only one going through what you're going through, and that I could use Doughp as this platform to talk about these issues and help break the stigma around mental health and addiction recovery, in hopes that more people do reach out for help. Even those with loved ones struggling feel less alone and have an opportunity to, you know, learn and connect. So I decided to start Doughp for Hope, and it comes across a few different pillars of the company. One is for the community. So like Mental Health Mondays, it's actually Mental Health Awareness Month this month in May. So we have like a big thing happening each Monday this month on our Instagram, but always raising awareness. Like we've got a very big platform where some companies would just say, we only like push sales. Like we wouldn't spend our, you know, emails going out or Instagram posts going out talking about, you know, mental health. But for us, we do. It's like exactly what we stand for, is trying to raise the conversation. So sharing resources and just overall like a little dose of hope on your social media feed through there. The other pillars for inside the company, and we'll talk more about this, but I really felt like there's so many businesses saying, hey, we, you know, plant a tree for every blank that's purchased, or we do this. And I was like, well, how's the company doing though? Like, how's your staff? And I just knew I had lots of friends in the tech industry and others in corporate America still who were just feeling like robots, you know, like they were being treated as total robots to show up, do your job, leave all your personal stuff at home. And I just wanted to create a different culture inside of Doughp that really stood for what we were trying to preach outside around Doughp for Hope. So started a pretty robust mental health policy is kind of where it began inside the company, with mental health days, like no questions asked, day off if you need it, mental health care subsidies for like float spa or massage or a book that you're looking to read, like whatever you need for your self-care, an open heart policy, and kind of starting from the top with vulnerability around like, you can come and talk to me about literally anything, me and any managers at the company. There's no repercussions for coming to us and telling us what's really happening in your life. So just this more honest dialogue between employer and employee, which has been really special. And then this is where She Recovers comes in. The last component was, you know, how could I help others who are already like really making strides in this space just go faster? I don't need to recreate the wheel. You guys are doing awesome stuff. So we donate 1% of all of our sales to the She Recovers Foundation, which is awesome. So it was $40,000 last year, and we anticipate it'll be even more this year, thanks to all the support of these cookie dough lovers that we found. So it's good stuff. Yeah. And it's just become kind of the whole reason for being for the company, which is awesome.
That's amazing. I feel like it started out as something so small, like a code or something to say at checkout, and you didn't really realize like the impact it would have until the messages started rolling in. And it's amazing because it's just probably put on a light bulb in your head and like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. Like it really just came in fluidly, and you didn't really have to give much thought to it because it just made sense at that point. And I love the fact that it has different parts to it, different pillars, and it's not just one thing. You're incorporating it inside your business, across all platforms, and that you do have big social media followings on, which is great. And also with your employees. So I think that's so important and so awesome. And I can't even think of any other type of business that I've heard of more recently that's doing something similar. So that's amazing.
Yeah. You know, when I kind of got started on the company component of it, like what could I do inside, and got some interest from other founders who were like, hey, we would love to do something like this. How do we do it? And I went and created a template version of Doughp's mental health policy to start sharing out and let other people kind of get a glimpse of like, what could this look like? Like, how could you help to instill some positive mental health policies inside your business? And then I came across the Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative during this process, because I started to think maybe this could be like a certification, that businesses could go through to get these tools. And sure enough, like Recovery Friendly Workplace is exactly that. It's like mental health, addiction recovery, and suicide prevention, all wrapped into training and support with policies that you can put in place, support with hiring practices to help second chance employment with individuals coming out of rehab or just needing to get back on their feet after, a troublesome past, and that we all can relate with. It's like this breaking the wall down that like we're all humans, we all make mistakes. Like Nadia said in Miami about compassion, if we could just have a little more compassion, that we're all human. We've all, done something wrong in our lives. So why hold anyone else to a different standard? And it can make a much better world. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. And I was actually going to ask that as my next question about the Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative. And I know you said you kind of started incorporating it at Doughp. So how does that tie into the mental health policy, or are they like two components of basically the same thing, or like how does that work?
Yeah, they're hand in hand. So Doughp was kind of in an interesting place because we already had this, and then this is the process they typically go through at Recovery Friendly Workplace to come into a company and help you get these types of policies in place. So we were able to get designated pretty quickly because we are doing those things already inside the business. But it's available in like 25 states or 28 states now in the United States. So a great way for anybody who is an employee or an owner of a business, like, send this information along to your employer. And if it's in your state, send them the Recovery Friendly Workplace. If it's not, feel free to share the template about the mental health policy at Doughp and see what you could get moving inside the company. There's, kind of some of those simple tactical things like the mental health days. It's no different in practice than a sick day, but even just calling it a mental health day allows somebody to come out and say why they're taking the day off. And you start to have those conversations where it's not uncommon to hear anxiety or depression or panic attack, or, those types of words don't like freak us out as a company. You can see it, you understand it, talk through it, we know how to handle it, and to say, no worries, like take the day off. It's not worth trying to press somebody to come in or force them to like call and cough and pretend to be sick to get the day off. So it's kind of, some of those are just really simple nomenclature changes that can help change the company culture. There's some other ones that, aren't really in our policy, but are things I've, cause it's not for employees, but something I take in to practice. And it's setting this example from the top as a manager for vacation time is one really important one. It is so common in the United States when you take a vacation that you are still expected to answer emails, to potentially jump on a phone call, to, oh, well, this is one big client meeting, like we can't have you miss it. And it's like, it is so wrong. You can't fully recharge on your vacation if you can't fully disconnect. So when I truly take a vacation, like we went to Cabo last year in July, I got to go on a family trip, and my family was like blown away because I really did. I was like super present, didn't respond to one Slack message, didn't have anything on my phone to be able to connect with work during that time. And what it does is shows the employees the example that when you take time off, you can really take off. Like you guys didn't hear from Kelsey or my husband runs the company with me today, didn't hear from us one time during the 7 days because we were recharging. And in the every day to day, even I've removed email and Slack from my phone over the last 2 years. So there's no late night emails for me. There's no emergency Slack messages for me. It's like when I'm at my computer, I'm working, and when I'm not working. And that just gives everybody a little bit of space for their mental health, where work is work and there's a personal life divide.
Yeah, I think it's become so difficult with everything being remote and virtual, especially over the last 2 years, to separate and have that boundary of work and relaxing or resting or being at home with your family, whatever it might be. So I think that's huge, and really setting the example for your employees and making it okay for them. Because one thing I've discovered, and I've worked at places like this in the past, is that they can say that you should have work-life boundaries and don't answer your Slack after hours and all that stuff. But if the managers are doing it and the CEO is doing it, I always felt like I was like, oh, well, I should be doing it, or at least checking on it if they're doing it, because I might miss something. So I really recognize that it has to come from the top.
Yeah, it's like a business keeping up with the Joneses, It's like oh God, well, they're doing it, so I should be doing it. Or like, or like my manager never takes vacation, so like, how could I take vacation? People start to feel vacation guilt, that like, well, they're never off, and then it's going to be hard on the team, and they won't have, support to cover it while I'm gone. And you just create this like super stress bubble. And then it's like the great resignation and everyone's freaking out about, talent retention. And that's just got to be a huge component of it that some big companies are really overlooking.
Yeah, for sure. And I think systems are so important, obviously in any business, but ones that can be operated by anyone in the organization, because we're all humans and we all go through these things. Like some of us have to take maternity leave, or some of us need to have a mental health day, or some of us are going to lose a family member or a friend and we need to grieve. So planning ahead for those days that we know are going to happen, because we're all human beings, is like so important. I don't think businesses have ever thought about that before until most recently.
Yep, totally.
Yes. All right. Awesome. So do you think that having this mental health policy and the recovery friendly workplace initiative has made an impact on your work environment? Like, what do your employees say? How has it changed the environment where you work?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually had one employee who said it used to just be easier to just quit, when she had like a downtime or a depressive swing or something, just not lining up for her and she needed time. She said that it used to just be easier to quit because she didn't want to face the conversation with the employer, and how special it is to work at a place that openly talks about these issues. And she doesn't feel like, the odd man out. We have a Slack channel that's a Mental Health Monday channel in our company for like one high and one low from your last week. And that's been a really nice way to get that open line of communication from employees who are like able to share, it's like this offering to say, hey, it's okay to come in and talk about, what was the low from your last week, and celebrate the wins too. But yeah, the lows, it's opened up the door a few times for people to be able to say, I'm just not doing so well with my mental health. And then we can go out and follow up directly. And, I can have a call with them, just check in, see how they're doing, what's going on, and be a human, and it's like, it's just so easy in business. Without that, the culture doesn't stand to have this kind of two-way street of communication. And I use it too. I've been able to share in there when I'm having a super tough week, or just, haven't been keeping up on my mental health recipe card, these little things, what do I try and keep in my week to stay balanced? And it's like, I'm honest with them when I'm kind of falling off my game. So it goes both ways. And yeah, I feel like it's a really special thing to have cultivated. Culture is so intangible. It's like, it's one of the most challenging things as a founder. You can have a great product, you can have all the places in the world to sell it, but your company culture will make or break the business.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I feel like on all different types of organizations, some that try really hard to have a good culture, but it just doesn't flesh out that way because people aren't walking the walk,
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you're doing a really good job of, setting an example, walking the walk, having these open lines of dialogue and communication for everyone so that it really works, and the culture can stay positive and can just remain human and have people who are open and honest about what they're going through.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So what advice would you give to other business owners about being open, about recovery in their workplace?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for most business owners, like my biggest piece of advice is to realize that you have employees who are struggling with mental health or addiction or are in recovery, and or a mix of these things. So it's so important, just the awareness that it exists. I spoke recently to a founder who has around 100 employees in his company, and he said, yeah, no, that's awesome what you're doing, but no, yeah, we don't have anybody in recovery in our company. And I was like, I am pretty sure you do, like the stats are, I think it's 1 in 12 American adults are in recovery from substance use disorder. So I think education is just the most important thing. So just be willing to explore the conversation, and just try to remember that they're all humans too. Breaking the wall down and being vulnerable yourself is like the best first step you can do to show them that you mean business. Because having a one-day workshop on mental health or saying you want work-life balance or all those things are meaningless if you don't walk the walk, like you just said, Kelly. So it's spot on to just kind of take that first step as the top leadership and management to say it's okay to not be okay, and open up about yourself.
Yeah, I really respect that you have all these different components to it in your workplace, and it's not just like a value sitting on a piece of paper in like the list of
our core values.
Right, exactly. I've seen it so many times, and It's
You're
hard
like, is
because
this the same company? Like reading
yes,
the core values,
like
looking at the
I've
business.
literally worked in places like that, and it was like sad
Yeah.
for me. I'm like, man, I thought this was going to be different. I thought this was like, I was really pumped up by reading their mission and their values, and it just didn't turn out that way, and that's okay. But yeah, I think anybody can benefit from this advice. Employees as well, like you said, they could bring the mental health policy to their employer if they feel comfortable, and just opening up and talking about these things. Because, like you said, a lot of people struggle with these things, and all of us at some point in time are going to have one of these things to recover from, for sure.
Yeah.
I know we talked about May being Mental Health Month, and my next question was going to be, what is Doughp doing special for that? You want to elaborate on that? I know you said that on Instagram we can see every Monday a different thing, but if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, we're doing a Kindness is Doughp campaign for Mental Health Awareness Month. So each week is going to be a little dose of kindness, reminding people it's cool to be kind, and doing little giveaways and just special activities and surprises on Mondays. So you can tune in on Monday. Our first post will be up today. And I'll give you guys the spoiler. Today is to win some cookie dough for a friend. If you've got a friend that's going through a hard time, you'll be able to enter to win a box of cookie dough for them. I think we're picking 5 winners that will send out a box to your friend, which is a nice little pay it forward thing. We always enter giveaways to try and win ourselves something, and thought for Mental Health Awareness Month. Yeah, if you've got somebody that's going through a hard time, you could win them a box of cookie dough.
That's amazing. And the perfect gift to cheer somebody up if they're not in a great place. So that's awesome. Okay. And I look forward to seeing the rest of them as well.
Yes.
What's one piece of advice you have for any folks listening today who are in recovery and might be an entrepreneur or want to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. If you are wanting to become an entrepreneur and you're in recovery, you've got like 8 legs up on everybody else, because it is such a great shot at just being a totally badass entrepreneur. I know so many sober founders that are just really at the top of their game, because we get every day to put our full selves towards it, and not sacrifice any of that. So first off, you're just like making the right choice if you want to go into it. And I think, like we said earlier, that's usually my best piece of advice for anyone wanting to start, is like the just do it. I have never written a business plan for Doughp. I have never sat down and made people tell you need to have some like 12-page long, business plan for what you're going to do. It's like, just go and start and find the smallest but most meaningful way you could start to test your idea, product, or service, and get that customer feedback without, going overboard. Like, I started Doughp as just a little food cart. I made 100 pounds of cookie dough to Commercial Kitchen, $500 to build this little cart, and went to sell it at a park. I didn't get a license or anything. I was just like totally rogue, but it was like, let's test it, So if you're thinking about starting an idea, it's just figure out like what the smallest testing ground is you can do to get enough feedback to say, sounds like it might work. What's the next step? Then we got to a food park, and I was setting up, doing a little pop-up 7 days a week. So just little things, don't go and put $1 million into a restaurant before you've had anyone try the recipe or your favorite recipes. So just get started and test it out.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of us, I've said this already, but overthink things, or just use thinking as a way to put off stuff. Yeah. We're just not sure about it. So I think that's such great advice.
Yep. Just got to do it.
And then it feels like a lot of what's happened with your business kind of unfolds organically. So I love that. Yeah.
It's like go where the customers take you, we run a totally different business today than I started in 2017, function wise, right? We were doing catering and pop-ups. Then we got our storefronts, and it was all these in-person experiences. We moved to online and then moved to grocery stores. And it's just been, these pretty like dramatic shifts, but constantly listening and seeing what is working, what is not, and not being afraid to pivot and turn. So it's kind of like I started like 3 businesses in these last few years, because it keeps changing business channel. But you just got to be nimble and go where the customers take you.
Yeah. And I think that's another good piece of advice for entrepreneurs, or soon to be, or will be in the future entrepreneurs, is to kind of go with the flow, go where the customer is, as you said. So, and don't keep your rigid ideas about what it's supposed to look like.
Exactly. It's kind of funny that's like a great analogy in life, right? Like, you don't want to have such blinders on that you need life to turn out this perfect one way. And it's like, what if you just opened up to like where the universe was trying to take you, and like what what's going to come your way, what will happen, instead of trying to manifest everything. I think Nadia talked about this a bit at She Recovers too. Like, you can't just manifest it all. Like let's just see where
Right.
things go. Don't try and make it your way. You're holding on so tight, you might miss something.
Right. And I think a lot of us, if not all of us in recovery, can relate to thinking something's going to go one way and it really turned out to go another way, and kind of having to just adapt. I mean, that's what life is. You know, you never know what's going to happen or what way stuff's going to go. So, so true.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what is your favorite Doughp flavor? I don't think I ever asked you that.
This question always kills me because I've made them all. So I feel wrong choosing, but we all have favorite children. So I can say that because I don't have actual kids yet. I feel like I'm not allowed to say that once I have kids.
Yes, you can say that.
For now. So I think my all-time favorite flavor was a flavor called Lavender Dreams. It was like lavender oatmeal, white chocolate chip cookie dough. And it was so good, but it sold like total shit. Like it was our worst selling flavor because a lot of people just don't get down with herbs in their sweets, like rosemary and chocolate's so good. And lavender was so amazing, but didn't sell well, but I loved it. Yeah.
I would love to try that one. That was before I knew about Doughp, I think, because I would have jumped on that.
Yeah,
I think
it was
I've
like
gotten most of the flavors. I loved red velvet, and you know, my favorite is Cookie Monster. And I love that you have like seasonal flavors. I know you had Chrissy Teigen, Chrissy Pie, I think it was called. Around Christmas, I think that was. And then the Santa's Doughp, which had little like pieces of the sprinkles in it. I love that one too.
Santa's Doughp will be back this year for the holidays again. Yeah.
And then the peanut butter kiss, I think it's called, is so like good. Also my second favorite. So I love this. Those ones.
That's awesome.
Just telling you all my favorites.
I love it. You're the best. You're my hype girl.
So so that leads me to my next question, which is, do you have any like fun flavors coming out soon that you can tell us about?
Yeah. So we just did a spoon liquor showdown competition to have fans submit flavor ideas. And it was absolutely bonkers. We got like 1,700 submissions, and people are
what a good idea.
Literally so creative. Like, I know I was like, we'll never have to think of another flavor because I have 1,700 submitted, but amazing ideas. Fleetwood macchiato was like one of my favorite. One, the name is hilarious. And it was like I think this was the one that was like espresso chips and like caramel swirl and stuff, like just would have been delicious. But the winner of the competition, we did like a public vote and everything to get it down. Cinnabon won. So it's going to have cinnamon roll chunks in it, a cinnamon swirl, and cream cheese frosting.
Oh my.
It's gonna be crazy.
My mouth is watering.
It's gonna be crazy. Yeah, it's gonna be so good. And that is gonna drop on National Cookie Dough Day, June 21st. We'll do a limited drop of that flavor. So fun for the person who created it. You know, they're gonna get to work with us to really bring the flavor to life.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad you did that contest. That's so smart. Yeah, that's such a good idea. Awesome. So we did get a few questions from our audience. So I'm just going to read these. Yeah. The first one is, what's a good way to talk to a supervisor who blames and shames people who take sick time, especially when it involves a mental health issue? How can I bring awareness to this type of person?
You know, I think in a situation like this, if the supervisor themselves is, displaying this kind of negative behavior towards the conversation overall, they're probably not going to be the easiest to break through. I would try to go above. You know, these are really serious topics these days. Someone blaming and shaming you over taking sick time is like, this is just an HR violation at that point. So yeah, my advice would be go above to their superior in a very professional way. Of course, you know, as you start to go up like ranks in a company, it's like, you don't want to seem like you're just, some irate employee that's, you know, belligerent in this email. Like, try to really think about how to say it in the most concise, factual way that you can. Try to remove emotion from it, because factually what they're doing is so wrong, and the people who are their superiors will want to know. So to their management or to HR, if you've got an HR department, I would absolutely escalate that. You know, I think it will be a sadly lost cause and potentially you know, an adverse reaction from them if you tried to bring it up to the superior, as, you know, human nature to get defensive. And someone like that doesn't feel very, like, they must not be very in touch with their ability to stay grounded and calm. So I'd try to go up if I could.
Yeah, great advice. I think it's hard when we know that companies like Doughp exist and we have communities like She Recovers, and where everyone is so vulnerable and open, and then we're thrust into like a work environment that's not that way. It can be so difficult. So thanks for that answer. The next question is, I have multiple neurodivergent conditions and struggle with executive dysfunction. When I tried to speak to my supervisor in the mental health field about how deaths of loved ones this month, along with other stress, has affected my executive dysfunction and amplified everything, I was still graded and rated harshly. What are some ways we can create bridges when communicating this to our supervisor?
Some ways we could create bridges when communicating this to our supervisor, and the supervisor is the one who just gave the challenging reviews.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best thing you could do is a thoughtful response to them. You know, if you're able to write a response to them about the different circumstances that have taken place. If you need time off, you know, if sometimes in the workplace, if it's possible for you to get paid time off, like a medical leave or something, a personal family leave, depending on whatever the situation is, to have time off to just reset. It can be better for, you know, the overall situation of the business to say, look, you will need to get someone to fill this position, because you understand from the business perspective, these things have got to still happen and they need them to happen at whatever certain level. But yeah, to try and get their understanding for the circumstances that are surrounding it, and you know, be as communicative as you can be to request, like, you know, the time you need, and to reset. But I'm sorry that it hasn't been received so well so far. It's challenging. It's like you said, Kelly, it's like the world is just not as in touch and thoughtful and considerate as we'd like it to be sometimes.
Right, exactly. And I think it's tough to toe the line between, okay, when you're in a work environment, should I request time off, knowing that I could be judged for it being a mental health break of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
versus like this person still went through with their work and maybe didn't perform the best, or their supervisor perceived that they didn't perform the best. And then having to deal with that. So it's a tough line to walk. So I would also just say to this person, be gentle with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and know that you're doing your best and that you've communicated open and honestly to your supervisor. So sometimes that's all we can do. Are you supported by a sober entrepreneur community? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, I'm like, man, I should create one. You know, I started the Soberpreneur podcast, and through that got to meet a lot of awesome sober entrepreneurs and individuals just working in the mental health space, or having overcome mental health or substance use challenge of their own. So I should create one. I think it would be awesome to get like kind of this camaraderie in group form. We're all so busy. I have a few CEO networks that I'm a part of, but not like specifically to those in recovery. So it's a great idea. Look for it soon. Maybe I can make one. It's good stuff. It's in general, if you do start, you know, if you do start a business, you become a CEO, there are really great networks for CEOs to get together. And even across industries, you would just be blown away at like the commonalities that we face. You know, it is similar challenges. It's just with a different product or service. So, you know, I'm in a CEO group with someone who does like medical devices, like catheters. And it's like, we still have so many similar issues in our day-to-day, you know, running a business, even though it's cookie dough and catheters. So you just never know. My advice is to find other CEOs. It's awesome. Didn't think I'd say catheters on today's webinar.
Cookie dough and catheters.
Hilarious.
Yes. But yeah, it's probably a good place for you to be in conversation with these other CEOs and entrepreneurs. So you can talk about things like the Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative and other things that maybe is not on their radar.
Totally.
So
yeah. You can add value with what you're more familiar with, and you'll get a lot of value from them. I think it's so lonely at the top, especially for solo founders. If you're by yourself doing it, you can't tell, you know, anybody under you in your company what's really going on. You know, if something's hitting the fan, if as far as the business goes, you know, something's hitting the fan with the business, you know, cash is tight, an investor just dropped, we didn't get this retail buyer we thought we were going to close. You have to it's going to be all right. You know, the business like perception is really, really important with morale in a company. And so to have another like closed network, confidentiality with other CEOs to just share and bounce ideas off, bounce troubles with even like employee issues and stuff. It's been a safe space for other CEOs to ask questions about how to handle something. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Community, right? It's like, it's everything.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're being supported in that way because that's great and you need that. So that's wonderful. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I guess my last question would just be, what does Doughp have in store for the future?
Hmm. I'm really excited about what's coming for Doughp. I think it's such a big year for us getting our launch in grocery. Like we had our first test underway at Costco in some select states in the South and Walmart in California and Nevada. So yeah, our like big next steps are really nailing this execution with grocery. We have to prove that our product will really move on shelves. And that's kind of my just key focus for the next 6 to 9 months. And some new product stuff underway, new product lines that will be coming out. I have to stay a little tight-lipped on that for now, but really excited about what we're developing for the future and some new products for next year.
Awesome. Just so we know that there are fun new products coming in the future. I'm excited.
Yes.
That's all I need
Yes.
to know. And
Yes.
is there anything we can do? Like, can I go to my local Costco and tell them to bring it to Florida?
Yeah, 100%. If
Okay.
you go to your local Costco, you can ask for their managers and let them know you've seen that this product is in another region of Costco and they'll move it up the chain. So yes, that would be
Awesome.
awesome.
Great. So
So
anybody
great.
listening that wants Doughp where you live, we can make it happen. So that would
Yes.
be awesome. And of course, anybody that wants to taste it for yourself, you can order it online. It's super easy, doughp.com. Carrie will drop the links in our chat and on Facebook so that everyone can find it. But thank you
Awesome.
so much, Kelsey. This conversation was
Yeah.
awesome. I really appreciate you coming today and being open and honest with all of us.
For sure. You guys are great. Thank you. It was nice to
Thank
keep
you.
the Miami excitement going a little bit for that time
Yes,
there.
yes, it really did.
Yeah.
So
Thank you,
thank
Kelly.
you. Yes, thank you. Thank you to everyone who makes this series possible. And most importantly, thank you to all of our viewers and listeners for showing up and holding space today and bringing forward your questions. We are truly stronger together. Next Monday, we will have Candace Alley as our speaker, and she will be talking about the impacts of psychological trauma. So please join us for that. To learn more about Mental Health Monday and all of our upcoming sessions, please visit sherecovers.org/mental health Mondays. For more information about She Recovers Foundation and all of our recovery focused programs, resources, and touch points, please visit sherecovers.org.